Hey everyone, figured I'd do another update video. We'll start off with some good news. Harvested another 9 gargoyle gecko eggs, all looking good. The 10th did not look good, so that one got tossed. Cuban Falls chameleons, doing great as always. This one is so incredibly shy. Here's the other 1.1. Don't see the little male. And moving on to the emerald tree skinks. He's doing much better. Very active, very alert. Still trying to get him to eat. We're still soaking him, keeping him hydrated. The female did pass away last night. Checked in this morning before work and found her on the bottom, deceased. You know, it's not very good news, but it does happen with imports. I guess we should talk about the ethics of importing reptiles. Might turn into a longer video, but we'll see where it takes us. So, obviously, these green tree skinks were imported. I knew that before getting them. I was going to get them right from the importer, but sadly did not have any money set aside. Couldn't jump on the order. They sold out pretty quick, very limited numbers. So I picked up this pair off another vendor over the weekend. I'm not going to do any naming of people. It's no one's fault. This just happens with imports. So, you know, she was not looking terrible. She was a little thin, a little dehydrated, as they commonly are. And we did what we could to get her to bounce back. Sadly, less than 72 hours was not enough time to really tend to her. I don't think she died of dehydration or malnutrition. It was probably more stress related. Sometimes they just fail to thrive, fail to acclimate. But hold on, we'll go to the other room real quick and we'll get a new animal on camera. These are flame garter snakes. And they are absolutely gorgeous. By far some of my favorite animals. These guys are super active, super inquisitive. I love them just because they're not just a lump of snake in the corner. And these guys are captive bred. Had them for several months now, hoping to start a project. I do have a male and a female in here, raising up. But yeah, when it comes to imported animals, you gotta realize that when these animals are field collected, they go through a lot before they even get into the country. So if you can imagine, most field collectors are poor villagers, stuff like that. So they go around and they collect animals and hoping to sell them. And usually what happens is they meet up with a broker or an exporter and try to sell them the animals, which they buy and they import into the U.S. Sometimes they're just not kept in optimal conditions. Sometimes they'll go weeks without food and water before they make it to the U.S. And then when you get to the importers, and this is where business may interfere with the hobby, or the mixture of business and the hobby just conflicts. So on one hand, the less time and energy you put into an animal, the more profit you'll make when you sell it. And this is very common practice. A lot of importers, a lot of wholesalers we'll post animals for sale the day they come in, if not beforehand. And the whole goal is to try to sell them to vendors and flip them as fast as possible. Once again, if you put no time or energy into their care, you're maximizing your profits. So a lot of times they might get unpacked, they might be offered food, they might be given water, and a lot of times they're just going out of one container into the other and then shipped to someone. And now you gotta ask yourself, where does the responsibility for acclimation and care comes? You think the importers should be the ones that are giving them time to adjust, giving them food, water, getting them into a much healthier condition before selling them to a vendor. And if you do that, it's not profitable. And then we get to wholesaler to vendor or retail store, whoever's purchasing them. Does a responsibility for these animals fall on them? I used to think it did. So I used to work for a retail store and an expo vendor. They used to just order in wild caught stuff by the masses. And a lot of times it was the same mentality of the quicker we can turn this around and get this out the door, the more profit we can make. Now, when I started doing expos for myself, I too started doing imports. And just from my own experience, there is no way to make any type of profit when you're flipping imports, so to speak. I never want anyone to get an animal that isn't thriving, that isn't doing amazing. So when I used to get imports, I used to quarantine them for weeks, if not months sometimes, get them eating, get them hydrated, get them established, get them thriving before I would sell them. And sometimes imports will come in and they'll have diseases or parasites, stuff like that. Sometimes they'll develop diseases and parasites in captivity. A lot of reptiles, a lot of animals in general, are high stress. Just the stress of being thrown in a Tupperware container, thrown in a box, left isolated for a long time in a dark space, being shipped through customs of the U.S., vibrations, noises, movements, all this foreign stuff. It does stress them out and can weaken their immune systems. And a lot of times you just have something come in and no matter what you do, they fail to thrive. And like I said, there's no way to make it profitable and do it ethnically at the same time. If you take an animal you paid $15 for, run up a $800 vet bill, and then try to sell it for $30, you're not making money. And this is one of the key reasons I got out of imports mainly. There is some stuff I still do. There is stuff I still do get imported. There's a lot of animals that are just way hardier, handle the stress better. But I rarely do import reptiles anymore, unless I plan on starting a project for myself. I'll give you guys a good example of that, since these guys want to hide. Now we're back in this room with the anoles and tree skink. And over here, I have Malaysian cat geckos. Sorry, I want to try to do all this one-handed. Actually, let me sit on my phone. So I'm trying to do everything in one take. I really don't want to spend a lot of time editing videos, which is why you're going to hear me mispronounce stuff, misspeak, not really saying what I'm trying to portray, but we'll get there. So, here we have a Malaysian cat gecko. So, I had 5 of these shipped to me right from the importer, and one failed to thrive right away. It happens. But Malaysian cat geckos are notoriously high stress animals. They do not do well with stress. A lot of times when they come in, they are dehydrated, stressed out, and they get pinworms very easily from crickets. because their own immune systems are not healthy. And I got into 5 probably 8 or 9 months ago. I wouldn't quote me on that. I have a terrible perception of time. But out of the 5, 4 were doing amazing. 2 of them sold. The reason I started selling them was because I was trying to get a breeding project, and I got all males, which happens. So I sold the 2 males relatively quickly. I took these guys to a couple shows thinking I was just going to sell them all and just try again with a new ratio later on. But I decided to keep these 2. And I'll be specifically looking for females, even if they're wild caught. But yeah, a lot of animals just don't do great being imported. Now, like, does that mean we should never get in imported animals? Absolutely not. The only reason we have some reptiles in captivity now is because of imports and then years of diligent breeding and hard work. You never want to... You always want imports for fresh bloodline, stuff like that. But I have a hard time justifying selling wild-caught animals to just the general public. Most people don't understand any of the risk you're taking buying a wild-caught animal. And there's always inherent risk with a wild-caught animal. You don't know how long it's been. You don't know how long it's been in the country for. You don't know what kind of care it received before you. And there's just a lot of what ifs. Of course, I strongly encourage people to test your vendors, test the people you're buying these animals from, their knowledge. Ask them about it. Do your own research, of course. But make sure you ask them questions. And if they sound knowledgeable, they're probably safe to buy from. If they have no idea any details about the animal they're selling, other than it eats crickets and gets misted once in a while, you might want to find someone else to buy something from. I only say this because it's something I've been bad with in general. Other vendors will try to sell people animals. They won't know the answers to the questions they ask. And next thing you know, it's, hey, go talk to Aaron. He knows about him. And honestly, when you're buying an animal from a vendor, you're not just paying for the animal. You're paying for their knowledge, their time, their experience. So if you buy an animal from someone else at an expo specifically, and then come to me looking for information on it, I'm always going to tell you, you shouldn't have bought the animal if you didn't trust the vendor's knowledge. Sad thing about the hobby is it's becoming more frequent, in my opinion. Whew. Sorry, long day. And I'll try to do some more expo related videos and stuff like that. It does get hard to be at expos, vending, talking to people, being a little stressed out, crunched for time, and then try to find time to make a video at an expo. It's tough. So this video isn't to call out anyone in particular. This is just what I've been noticing in the hobby. My opinions based off experiences. If you think you know who I'm talking about, if you have someone similar, do not comment their name on this video. I will delete anyone trying to name people and trying to throw stuff their way. It's not what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to share my experiences, my opinions based off my experiences, and hopefully help people make good decisions in the future. But sadly, there's too many people in the hobby who's just chasing money. Sadly, this is something anyone can do. I could give you wholesaler and importer information, and you can start your vendor business tomorrow, even if your only experience is a crested gecko. And that's where a lot of people start. In the hobby too, and at the expos. There's a lot of people I'm good friends with, a lot of fellow vendors I consider peers, a lot of great people. And mixed in there are people who I would say have almost a drug dealer business mentality. You know, whatever it takes to get you to give them your money, they'll do. It's too often, there's too many people doing it. I see people telling customers animals are captive bred while they're so apparently wild caught. And then you have vendors who try to cancel and put each other out of business, because if you destroy the competition and they only can come to you, you win. But in reality, my business practices is I don't give a shit about money. I love the animals. I love what I do. I did it when it made me money. I did it when it did nothing but cost me money. I'm never going anywhere. Reptiles has probably been the only stable thing in my life for well over a decade. But I do question some people's business practices of get what they can for cheap, flip it for a profit, never learn about it, never work with it, never love what they're doing, only chase money. And it's just all too common thing. Like I said, your best bet always while buying animals from an expo is do a little bit of research. Look into your vendors. Look into the animal you want to care for. If you study the animal you're getting and you go to expo to purchase it, then you can easily ask the vendor simple questions. If they don't know the answer, obviously it was for the money and not for the animal. Oh, what else? I had a whole thing planned in my head, but of course I get off topic and sidetracked and try not to edit videos, so you're gonna have to deal with some tangents here and there. But all in all, everything's going great. Show you guys another project I'm working on. Got some Brevis, or Texas banded geckos. Now, I know everybody loves big natural environments and, you know, really just advancing their care. I've done it. It's not great with these guys. I'm trying to breed these guys, and what always happens is they lay their eggs somewhere dry. They dry out before I collect them, and I have issues. So for breeding purposes, they're on paper towels. They got tons of hides. There's a 1.1 in each. They are communal, but I still won't put males together if I don't have to. And I give them egg boxes so I can easily collect the eggs to hatch them. And honestly, the general standard for anyone keeping animals is the health and the well-being of your animal. I understand that it's more visually appeasing to have them in a very large, bioactive, crazy top-of-the-line enclosure. And they look good in it. They do make good display animals, even though they're nocturnal and they're going to hide most of the day. You still can make a very nice display for them. But as far as breeding them goes, it's just not feasible to breed them in a 10-gallon tank where they can hide their eggs anywhere and I can't find them. And like I said, these guys aren't notorious for having super fat tails like leopard geckos, but if you feed them enough, they'll get pretty thick. And then the proof is always in the pudding. You know a healthy animal when you see it. They're bright-eyed, they're alert, they're active, they're thick, they're happy. These guys eat almost every day, and they poop a ton. They're always pooping. Every week I have to change their paper towels and scrub down all their plants and hides. But that's a good sign of health. And also finding fecal on paper towel is way easier. Something I could have done with the emerald tree skinks was, instead of putting them straight in bioactive, set them up as something similar, but with paper towels at the bottom. If you see poop, obviously they're eating. Especially true with a lot of New Caledonian geckos, a lot of fruit eaters. Sometimes you don't notice MRP missing from the dish, but if you see a turd somewhere on a paper towel, you know they're eating well. But I'm probably going to end the video here. Comment with your own views, experience, opinions. Let me know if you want me to go more in depth with anything. I'm never going to point fingers or blame people. Obviously, the emerald tree skink was 100% me. I knew all the hazards, all the risks. I did it anyways. But there's a lot, you know, I have opinions on, and maybe we could do a discussion video soon with another member of the hobby and just talk about viewpoints. Let me know if you want to see that. Anyways, thank you guys.